Hello, friends. This is a special midweek podcast brought to you by musicitup.com. Follow the yellow brick road. Your student's success doesn't need a Kansas Twister. A Freedom First Music Classroom. Freedom is the ability to choose your own path. Freedom is the ability to develop a personal sense of agency and then use your productivity to build something of value using that agency. A student sitting at a teacher's piano can, in my humble opinion, experience full freedom through music. My music lessons taught me freedom, but this is not often the case when I talk to people who have gone through or are currently going through music lessons. The path is paved with gold bricks. For a minute, let's entertain the analogy of the yellow brick road. In The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy lands in a strange new world. When she first emerges from the black and white world that she was living in, she steps into a world of technicolor. Did she react with anxiety? Did she recoil in fear? Not at all. She found herself in complete amazement. After her first teacher, Belinda, the Witch of the North, points her in the direction of the goal and prepares her with a comfortable pair of ruby slippers as a tool to achieve that goal, Dorothy starts her journey by skipping down the road. The road itself was paved in gold, and her instructions were simple. Just follow the yellow brick road. Along the way, she met 3 friends that became her teachers and companions. The Scarecrow was knowledge, the Tin Man was passion, and the Lion was courage. These were mirror representations of Dorothy's character as she pursued the path to her goal, which was to be free. The Scarecrow. Dorothy met the Scarecrow at the first fork in the road. She needed to take a risk, dig deep into her self-knowledge and act accordingly to be able to continue down the right path. Her act was to free the man who claimed he did not have a brain and trust his advice. When your student first joins you in the classroom, your job is to be the Scarecrow and to help your student dig into the vast reservoir of self-knowledge they have within themselves. It isn't that you do not have a brain, but that your knowledge is not as powerful as your students'. The Scarecrow was a mirror into Dorothy's feelings of self-doubt. But the Scarecrow enabled Dorothy to use the knowledge she already had to make the right choice. There is a major danger in the first step for teachers. You can mistakenly hold your vault of knowledge as higher value to your students. With your training and expertise, you might feel as though you are the authority, that you know what is best for your student. What I'm suggesting is simply placing your student's knowledge above your own. By simply switching this paradigm, you can become partners in learning, and the trade becomes mutually beneficial. Authorities often use the language of coercion to convince people of their power and knowledge. But knowledge is never gained through coercion. It is like training your dog to roll over by drills and rewards. They don't roll over because they want to roll over. They roll over because they have been commanded to roll over. Don't we want our students to make music of their own? If this is true, then we must let them lead the learning, while our job is to foster it, help focus it, and keep them safe. The Tin Man. Rusted and stuck in an uncomfortable stance for years, the Tin Man stood waiting for somebody to come by and release him. With a gentle squirt of oil in a couple key joint areas, the Tin Man was freed. Declaring he was absent of heart, he went into a dance that had sparks of inspiration, doused in a fog of self-doubt. Your students will sometimes come to you like the Tin Man, stuck. Even after you do your best to free them, they will have a cloud of self-doubt, often fogging the glass. Just as the Scarecrow who claimed not have a brain showed a great deal of knowledge, the Tin Man showed a great deal of passion when claiming not to have a heart. Your job as a teacher isn't to open the chest of your student like a skilled surgeon and insert a heart. Your job is to simply oil the joints and help your student clear the fog. Once your student is free to move in a clear direction, that passion will emerge, and they will be moving forward again with a heart that beats strong and loud. The Lion. From behind a tree, the lion leapt out at the journeying trio. As he roared and bore his teeth, Dorothy, Scarecrow, and the Tin Man were fearing the worst. But with an incredible act of bravery, Dorothy stood up to that lion and vanished the fears, and then comforted the shaken lion. What did not happen in the story was a conquering of a fearsome beast. Instead, the fearsome beast was shown to be not so fearsome, and joined the group towards the goal of being free. There are going to be challenges on your path to freedom. With the mindset of command and conquer, you might slay the challenge, but you will bring your newfound skill along as a slave to use and abuse as you will it. As a teacher, when your student hits that roadblock, you need to stand behind them to support their courage, rather than handing them a sword and a shield and pushing them into battle. Telling them that only when they come back, with a trophy or slave, will they be ready for the next battle. Ask yourself this: would you prefer to be thrust into battle armed and alone, or to courageously overcome an obstacle with the help of an experienced swordsman? Wherein after the battle, the enemy becomes another member of your tribe voluntarily. To do this as a teacher, never encourage your students into battle. Instead, stand by their side through the challenges so they never feel frightened. This is often the story of practice. Your students facing a harrowing challenge for the next 7 days alone. To defeat that challenge you push them into, they often have to fight unprepared, coming back to lessons week after week with new criticisms on how they could have fought better. This paradigm is repeated over and over again as you reaffirm that all they have to do is practice more. Don't give up. Keep fighting, despite how often your enemy defeats you. What if they were allowed to build skills through safe playing, and then join you once a week to battle together? I'd aim to say that the challenge will be overcome more easily. The ruby slippers are the key. As Dorothy began her quest, her goal was to return home. She met her first guide, Belinda the Good Witch of the North, and was shown her direction. At the same time, she was given the gift of a beautiful pair of ruby slippers. In the end, it was the original gift that was the key to the freedom. Why didn't Belinda just tell Dorothy, when she entered the new world, that all she had to do was click her heels of her slippers together while chanting, "There's no place like home"? The reason is simple. Belinda was the ideal guide. She understood that good teaching isn't giving away the goal, but pointing to a path in which her students might find that goal. The planning was clear from the start, and this is evident in the fact that Belinda prepared Dorothy for her trip with a pair of comfortable slippers to walk down that yellow brick road. The takeaway. When your students come through your classroom door, do you take the time to understand their goals? Do you take the time to point out the direction to that goal? Do you arm your students with the ability to access their knowledge, passion, and courage? Do you stand behind them when they run into a challenge or just push them into battle? Do you celebrate when your students achieve their goals with the tools they already have within them? This is the path to freedom in the classroom. As an expert, you can be the authority where you design skill and drill exercises that will build obedience to the skills of music, or you can embark in an exciting journey with every student, learning together what it is to be free as a musician. A freedom approach to education is an enlightening and rewarding path. May you and your students be free to be. This mini podcast was brought to you by musicitup.com. If you want to hear more about how you can start a Freedom First classroom, make sure to tune in to the Musician's Path podcast this Friday for an interview with J.P. Ahmed, owner of one of the best music schools in Austin, Texas, the Franklin Music Academy. Visit us on the web at www.musicitup.com or on the iTunes store under the Musician's Path podcast. To help spread the word about the information in this podcast, please leave us a review or rating on iTunes. I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening to the Musician's Path podcast.